Good afternoon. What is a mild, grey and overcast day. It is Tuesday the 2nd of May. I've got a nice little cup of tea. And I have a cat that is not ours on my lap. And a box to continue unboxing. Or I should think probably finish unboxing. So let's clear out all the packing chips so I can get to the package inside. Of course, which immediately goes, what's that? I don't really want to blame him for packing chips because he might end up chewing them, so I'll have to be a bit careful there. So what I've got here, so what can I see is that you can just about see a little bit of. What I pulled out last time was Journal d'Indochine. Oh, there it goes. Volume 1, published by the Sons of Singularity, but there is also a second volume, Journal d'Indochine Volume 2. Vietnam and the surrounding region witnessed a time of extreme turmoil and political ferment during the 20th century. Many great RPG supplements have addressed the Vietnam War, American War, but few have explored the period of time immediately preceding American entanglement. In Journal d'Indochine, we present a set of scenarios for the Call of Cthulhu 7th edition role-playing game set in French colonial Vietnam, 1925 to 1955. In this second volume, we continue to explore historical and morally ambiguous story with unique Lovecraftian twist. We've also included in the supplement valuable campaign resources, including details on the French Foreign Legion and other French military forces, and a collection of narrative frameworks to help an enterprising keeper build out an exciting and authentic campaign to explore ancient mythos horrors. Well, it says here many great RPG supplements have addressed the Vietnam War, American War. It's not really quite true. You're really looking only at things like, I would suggest, we've got Recon and Revised Recon, the latter from Palladium Games or Palladium Books, and then you've probably got Tour of Darkness from Pinnacle Games, which is basically a modern horror campaign set during sort of prior to and during the Vietnam War, and beyond that, not much. There is a scenario in essentially the Fall of Delta Green, the campaign setting for Call of Cthulhu by Ken Hite, but not really very much for the period. And to some extent, this probably offsets that. And the thing is, the whole region is ripe for this kind of writing because it's unknown. You have a really rich, hot, sweltering environment which we don't really quite understand, which adds to the alien atmosphere. And the period itself is not particularly well known in the English-speaking sort of like world. It's because it's kind of outside of our experience, where we think of colonialism when we think of the British Empire. We don't really think necessarily of the French Empire very much, or the German Empire, or even the Dutch Empire. They all had their own empire or empires and colonies at one time, certainly throughout the 19th and 20th centuries. And that really all came to an end sort of like following the Second World War. So this is a different experience. This is a different experience in itself, and a way to explore sort of like a couple of different cultures. So you are thinking, French culture, and then French colonial culture, and then of course the indigenous cultures of the region. So we open up. Interesting. Sorry, I can't show you because I guess you need to see the text. So interesting kind of political poster there. Putting the sort of like Cthulhu in the context of the rebellion or the uprising against the French, essentially during the period. Essentially, I guess the contents page. and then we have the French Foreign Legion section. It's beginning with faction themes, campaign hooks, early history of the Legion in Indochina, and often we kind of have a very romantic view of the French Foreign Legion, because of fiction. But there's a lot more to it than that. The French Foreign Legion still exists. It's still used as a sort of primarily a colonial military force by the French government. So, you have all that there, and they would have been stationed in Indochina at the time. So you've got hooks. Then we go on to the L'Armée de l'Air, which is the French Air Forces. And basically the French Air Force in the region, also Les Paras, paratroopers, and they're all here. So it's also French Navy La Royale, which is a little bit absurd because essentially, French Republic is really kind of odds with the La Royale, but you've got notable historical personalities, hooks there, just overviews, just general background you can use, and then you have the first adventure, and the thing is that the coverage essentially of the French Foreign Legion, I think there's been some in fanzines at one point or another, but not much. And essentially we've got these different scenarios, Omega and the Alpha, that sort of like set you up through different periods. So the previous one, to La Roulette, it's not really set, it isn't given a specific date, and it's quite short. You've got the spine there, it's only a few pages long. Omega and the Alpha is set in 1949, so we are after Second World War, and essentially I think these are definitely more military focused campaigns. La crème de la crème for the setting. Au revoir, au revoir. Options include Le Dernier Convoy. Again, this is an optional thing, optional encounter, and these, are kind of fully written out, sort of like scenario hooks, quite detailed. But of course, the keeper will have to do a little bit of work to develop them, for her table. La Roulette again, back to that, and we're going forward. This is Christmas '49, and then. Epilogue, the Alpha and Omega, and this is sort of like set against the conflict in Vietnam at the time, leading up to really 1954 and terrible events. Basically the final battle. Next we've got the fate of the Kaong, and I'm pretty much sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. And this is it'll be a nautical adventure. Kind of quite long. Birds of the night. You're going to need a bigger boat. the first attack, and these are all individual chapters, are sort of like scenarios, and then we have. This is quite a lengthy one, you know. It's Deus Ex Machina. And then we've got character sheets ready for that scenario. So these are all kind of, you've got pre-gens for these, and what you'll be doing is probably just dipping in and out of the campaign, sort of like experiencing situations with different characters, pushing the story forward, rather than necessarily playing characters, you know, from the who are there, you know, from the start. Then some parchment of Tam. We've got a list of the dramatis personae. With the involvement of the Japanese. And then Tam the Witch. And then we get started. We've got basically there are the mythos forces there. I like the fact that they're placed on a different colour page for each reference, and then you get the prologue into the scenario itself. So yeah, this is taking place in 1944, 1945. It's a famine. The Japanese are about to be defeated. Just the odd-playing members of a resistance cell working against the Japanese occupiers. Set Hugh. These rather nice maps. I don't know, really nice. This adds a, you know, you get the maps right, adds a really nice degree of verisimilitude. And you've got encounters things like a soup kitchen. You're going for aid. People, you know, desperate for food at the time of famine. Underground dojo. The aftermath of dealing with the dojo. And then back to Mr. Long's apartment. And then French residence. And the Grand Hotel in Hue. So it's sort of like, you know, this is quite text heavy. It's not a huge kind of grab you off the page kind of look for the most part, but it looks to be sort of like fairly, it looks to be quite readable and interesting, even just purely by the subject. A nice view there, nice kind of map, nicely done, and then Ming Mang's tomb. And then we have options for this Operation Bright Moon. And this is what you've got is a scenario with options, and this in each case. And then, you know, your discussion of the Vietnam cell in Hue, again optional for bringing that into play. And then we've got handouts. Nicely done in full colour. Again, that map reproduced. Pre-written player characters, pre-generated player characters, you know, and this also, the other thing about this, gives you a chance, you know, for you know, essentially an English-speaking Western audience to experience situations, you know, through player characters or investigators who are not Western. There are some that are here, but most of them are not. And then we have Operation Grasscutter. So background, interesting picture of a submarine aircraft hangar. This place takes place in 1945. So you've got quite a lot of detailed kind of background there and handouts for the player characters to receive. And this takes place in Long City, where we're going to encounter something quite fishy. So if you're going fishy with the mythos, then you're thinking, you know, Deep Ones, Cthulhu, Dagon, so on. And then you've got options here for telegrams, for contacting, getting further research or calling in backup. Then there's an assault on the facility. You've got rules in here for firefights in enclosed spaces, and dealing with spooks. And we find a secret lab. And then there's the nub of the situation. So you're not infected. You know, whatever is in that lab. And then whatever's going on, stop the test. Dealing with a mad doctor, you've got a couple of aeroplanes there. Japanese fighter on a Japanese reconnaissance seaplane, and then the sword is drawn and coming to the end, and then sort of like explanation of what's going on. It's sort of like for the player characters, the investigators to find, you know, a journal entry, the abandoned base. And a hidden dockyard. So there's lots of secrets and things to discover, including 403 with Forbidden. And this is going to be the I presume this is going to be the submarine. And you even have guidance in here for fighting in a submerged pressurized metal container. The main advice there is don't. But you know, the scenario being what it is, and we've got the epilogue. Full equipment list for the player characters. So these are primarily kind of military scenarios, and here we've got you know, more allied forces than I think necessarily locals. You know, they've got a desperate mission to try and sort of like deal with sort of the last kind of Japanese secret program. And then good discussion sort of like here at the end, narrative frameworks of sort of other options in here, which you could do with a setting like a penal colony, going back into the past for the storming of Dabin, which took place 1886, 1887, and then more. Then you've got acknowledgements, which is of course is for the for the Kickstarter backers. So yeah, that is Journal Indochine Volume 2, which basically put this together, and you've got really sort of kind of an interesting campaign framework set across a period which is very little explored in Call of Cthulhu, let alone role playing in general. So yeah, I think worth picking up if you're a horror fan, looking for something different, looking for another region to kind of explore, and a history to explore. It's sort of like, you know, caught under a lot of conflict and tension, and then infused with the mythos. So yes, this is Journal Indochine Volume 2, published by the Sons of Singularity. If you have enjoyed this unboxing, then please do click on the like button down below. And of course, if you want, if you got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to yet more unboxings of the Nook, where you'll see me out here with a box containing a book or game, which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so. All, of course, accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. then please do click on the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing of the Nook. Be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.